folks. Hey, welcome back for another session of Off the Grid. And I wanted to welcome my guest, Canadian MC and producer Scope G. What's going on, brother? Thanks for joining us today.
What's up, bro? What's up, bro? Happy to be here. Appreciate you having
Good.
me off the grid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely, man. We got a mutual friend in Chris Blade, man, and he told me all about you and all the amazing stuff that you do for music, man. So I'm excited to get into it, man. How's it going in Canada? I'm sure it's starting to get cold over there.
yeah. It's definitely getting nippy up here. Definitely like puffer is like needed right now. It's
Yeah.
like it's like pretty brisk in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hoodie weather. I love it.
Yeah, church man.
Yeah, well, good, man. Hey, can we start with just you giving me a quick intro about yourself? Tell me where exactly you are in Canada, and then tell me how long you've been making music.
Yeah, so I'm coming out of Vancouver, BC. Um, I was I was born in Ontario though. I was born in Mississauga, but I pretty much
Oh,
grew
yeah.
yeah, like I pretty much grew up in Vancouver like all my life though. So I'd say
Crazy.
I'm Canadian born, Chinese.
Yeah.
Uh, Parents are like Hong Kong like heritage ancestry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So um and like kind of growing up in Vancouver, there is like a big like Chinese like population here. You know what I mean? Or like I think Asian population in general, you know what I mean? But specifically like Chinese, like there was like a pretty big boom like in like the 80s and 90s up in
Yeah.
Vancouver. So it was kind of like part of that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, like um I pretty much grew up here. I think hip hop kind of came into my life high school age. You know what I mean? Like
Nice.
just um I was born like 88, so like I kind of grew up in like the I'd say like early 2000 hip hop. Like that was like
Okay.
where I I I like came up in like high school, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
Eminem was big at the time,
Yeah.
kind of like in the mainstream stage, of course. You know what I mean? Like I'm speaking on like because in Canada, like instead of MTV, it was like Much Music. So like Much Music kind of carried all the hip hop
Okay.
and kind of all the current like kind of genres at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, like hip hop kind of came into my life kind of through basketball. Um,
Okay.
yeah, like I was mad into like and one like
Yeah. The mixtapes, those are hot.
yeah, like hot sauce, like AO and shit. And
You, you remember the Asian basketball player, Soy Sauce?
Asian,
I think.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big
Well,
deal.
well, dope, man. So you had to get away from all the Filipinos in Mississauga, and I only say that because my cousins, we used to visit Ontario, Mississauga all the time.
Okay.
We used to go out there on the East Coast, and then yeah, and then I figured that Vancouver. I visited there a number of years ago, and y'all have a big Chinatown too.
Yeah,
So I imagine, like you said, you got a big Chinese population out there. So super dope, man.
yeah,
And yeah, so with that, man, like as you got into hip hop through basketball, it was obvious you got to play some music to get live while you're playing ball. But who were your musical influences? Like, who did you really enjoy at that time? You mentioned Eminem. Was there anybody else that like really stuck out to you?
Oh, I was like when hip hop came into me, I was only like a New York head. So like I
Uh
would only
huh.
play shit. I would only play shit out of like a specific borough, which was like Queens or like Queensbridge, you know?
Yeah,
So
Nas.
it was
Yeah.
it was it was mad Nas. Like all I did was play Nas. Like and then like the people around
Hey,
Nas, like
shows.
Cormega, and
Yep.
then like a Mob Deep. So
Yeah. The
very
firm.
New York, you know what I mean? And then it kind of branched out to like Wu-Tang, of course.
Yep.
And then just like Jay-Z, of course, like Nas and Jay to me, kind of growing up back then were like kind of the pinnacle or like the top tier
Yeah.
like artists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Some are goats. Yeah.
yeah, but I think like kind of getting into hip hop around like 2000, 2003 and shit, like Outkast was also big. Like kind of like different areas of like America like had like their own sound already, you know what I mean? And it was
That's
kind of
right.
popping, and it was like popping on the mainstream already. You know what I mean? Like LA had their scene, of course. Like Atlanta, I was like bubbling
Yeah,
at the time. It was like
down south.
yeah, you know what I mean? So like I would say I was a fan of like all the spectrum, like the whole spectrum of hip hop.
Yeah,
You know? Yeah,
yeah.
but it started specifically out of New York though, like out of East Coast. Even though I didn't grow up in New York or anything, but like I just kind of
Yeah.
gravitated towards that.
Oh, it's dope, man. And so, as you mentioned, like the different styles and the different pockets of hip hop in the United States, Canada also has a really dope scene too. And so, I asked this question to another Canadian MC before, but can you tell the difference between East Coast and West Coast Canadian rappers or style in general, or are all the borders all gone now? And just because we got internet and everybody's exposed to everybody, there isn't really much of a difference anymore.
I'd say, I mean, obviously because of Drake, like he really kind of like changed the landscape of Canadian hip hop. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I mean, I was into Canadian hip hop kind of before Drake, though. You know what I mean, I
yeah,
was into it like because I was up on it because of like TV. You know what I mean? That's all they
yeah,
played. Or
yeah, yeah.
in like the 2000s. So I was up on like East Coast, primarily Canadian hip hop because at that time
Yeah.
they sounded more like New York. You know what I mean? Because I think
Yeah.
hip hop at that time is it's just like kind of America's like carbon copy in a way. You know what I mean? I think we were just like trying to just like etch out our own sound, our own
Yeah.
like culture, but it was still
Good
just
point.
so unshaped, you know what I mean? And also, yeah, like hip hop, I mean, Canada, especially in Vancouver, it's like super white. It's like mad white people, you know what I mean? Like at that time. So, um, I just I remember Swollen Members was a big
Yep.
deal
That's
in
right.
Vancouver just because like they like pushed a really authentic sound and it was like I think like accurate to like their like aesthetics and their
Yeah.
backgrounds and shit. So that was like cool, like kind of seeing Vancouver hip hop like Swollen Members, and then East Coast it had like Chauclair, had like
Yep.
Cardinal, had
Yeah.
like
Cardinal Official. Yeah.
yeah,
Danio.
yeah, Daniel, bro, well, that's crazy. Yeah, Toronto like heads, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I love how you're mentioning those names. It brings back a lot of memories. Well, with that, man, hey, what I guess you got your New York sound. Were there any particular albums that just like, oh man, blew your mind and you always had on constant repeat?
Yeah, I mean the first Nas album I ever bought, it was written. It wasn't Illmatic, so like
Yeah.
I think the second
Yeah.
album to me, I think I just bought it because I like the album cover more for some
Yeah,
reason.
it is a
Yeah,
dope cover, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I got that, and then like hearing the message like on that album, it was like crazy. And then
Yeah.
I think that album specifically kind of like it was like my intro into hip hop because I didn't have like any other hip hop album kind of previously. So that was like my
Yeah.
entry to it.
Yeah.
Um, and then like kind of moving on, like also growing up in the 2000s, um like Lupe Fiasco.
Oh yeah.
He was also a big deal to me just because like I think I was
Huge
more
dope.
so on that conscious like kind of backpack hip hop tip like at that time. Just
Right.
like growing up in Vancouver and being an Asian kid. It's not like I come like out of the hood. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say like I definitely like or identified a lot more with like Lupe's type of sound and
Yeah.
like
More of a connection in life experiences.
yeah, more about like kind of just like true shit to like who I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's the best way to do it, man. And those are good teachers, man. I love Lupe and Nas too as well, man. So that's
Yeah.
great. And so for me, when I'm piecing together, it sounds like you tried rap first before producing music,
Yeah. Yeah,
or was
absolutely.
it the okay?
I mean, I'd say like I like other Chinese kids, I was kind of put into like classical piano, like at a fucking
Yeah.
and so I
Me too.
yeah, like all of us, you know what I mean? All of us had that. So like I had to like play like Bach, like Beethoven. Um,
I didn't
uh,
make it that far, but
yeah, but it was like hardcore. And I think that kind of just like I didn't enjoy playing piano at that time, but that really kind of like made me understand emotion and made me understand like how to move people like in music, you know what I mean, specifically. So it just kind of gave me a really good audio kind of background already. And so yeah, I definitely started with just like putting down bars. I didn't think about like producing shit myself. But also at this time, kind of FL Studio, I was just like floating around, you know what I mean? Just like online. Um, so I also got FL Studio kind of around like in like high school, you know what I mean? But I never like
Nice.
tampered with it until I started getting more comfortable just like penning bars, you know what I mean? And then I would just
Yeah.
go over just like the popular like instros, like the Biggie beats, like the Jay-Z beats, like the Nas beats, like all the shit that you would hear on like Hot 97, like the Funk Flex shit. Like I had all those beats, you know what I mean? So it's
I love
just
it.
yeah, and then
It was easy to get those beats too in 2000s. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have like those those platforms you could download music off. So yeah, you guys really were able to take in all that info and music. That's super dope.
yeah, I feel like blessed to kind of grow up in like that a later era in a sense
Yeah,
of like yeah, like in a sense like everything is like pretty accessible to I
that's
guess
it. The
or
access and the technology. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, we were still like trying to figure out how to record off of karaoke machines, and so yeah, and it's great. And then as we get into your music, man, on how complex it is, you can tell, man, that you just have a good hand on how to use this technology, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
Like,
good.
yeah, continue.
And you mentioned too, like, hey, when you were writing raps, you started to do it seriously, and then I saw you refer to a term that I enjoyed, key styling, right? So, yeah. So, hey, Dad, tell me about that. Can you expand on what that is
Key
when you're done with
styling
your song?
is like freestyling, but like typing it. So like keyword freestyle is like kind of just going off the top but just typing it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that to me, like as an Asian kid especially, I think I was a pretty shy kid, you know what I mean? Like kind of
Okay.
growing up and just being introverted as shit. Like I was more used to just like typing shit on like MSN Messenger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I had like a couple other homies who were also kind of into just like hip hop songs. So we would just like kind of trade off like key styling bars and
Nice.
just like kind of hone our like patterns of flowing and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You know, it was a good like kind of entry point into just understanding more about like almost like patterns. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd never heard that term before, man. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And
Yeah.
so I didn't know if you fathered that phrase, but I just wanted to
No, no,
get.
no, no. That was
Okay,
a popular thing like online. You know what I mean? That was
I see.
that was a trend happening.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's just me being old, man. Well, good. So it sounds like a lot of development in your style through key styling and just practicing with friends as we all did coming up. And so, one thing I'm interested in, and because I know as an Asian guy too as well, did you have any major challenges that you had to overcome being an Asian rapper? To me in general, to me color doesn't matter. If you're dope, you're dope. But what about you, man? Have you had any
Yeah.
experiences where it was challenging?
Yeah. I mean, it was challenging kind of from the get-go, just because growing up in Vancouver, it's like predominantly white at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like black culture is not like it just I didn't feel like it was prevalent in like the main like streams of Vancouver. You know what I mean? So I think hip hop, it was always like kind of like a private thing to me.
Yeah.
Um, it was like an internal thing because also like stuttering or like having a stutter, it was like a big like kind of block for me growing up because I think I had like a lot bigger stutter kind of growing up as a kid because of like self-esteem, just anxiety, and like
Yeah.
those things made me really turn inward into hip hop because I was able to kind of like channel like those issues into like something, and then also like in the songs I wouldn't have a problem like I was stuttering, but like in a normal like daily things I would have that issue of like just like being able to eloquently kind of express myself, and then
Yeah.
like it's like ordering like food and like speaking over the phone, they were like huge like obstacles to me in my eyes, you know what I mean, at that time. So like
Wow.
hip hop, it was like really like my like it was like everything to me, you know what I mean? It was like my
Yeah.
only thing I had like really looking up to in a sense. So I think like that obstacle in itself, like it was like a reflective of almost like being an Asian person now in society because like it's almost like I wasn't able to speak freely in a sense, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think like that made me really kind of take a like a strong stance on it in hip hop because I think hip hop gave me that armor. It gave me that
Yep.
thing. It gave
Amen, dude.
to like kind of like speak up, you know what I mean? And just like come up of like of off like all the obstacles and shit, you know what I mean? So hip hop, it was like my salvage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think in some cases it is definitely has saved my life in terms of just like you said, developing me as a person and having that confidence and just building public speaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's cool to hear, man. I'm glad that you found a lot of positive benefits to it. And so, you've seen it. 2000. You've been in the game for quite some time now, probably 20 years. I mean, have you, in terms of like perspective on the current state of hip hop, are you enjoying how it continues to evolve? Are you happy with the stuff that you're hearing these days?
I think in like any era, there's always like a pocket that's like
Yeah.
you'll end up like finding like the shit that you connect with, you know what I mean, even in this era. So obviously like hip hop has like evolved all these years. It's definitely kind
Hmm.
of had a very like commercialized state now, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like how it was in like 2000s, but there's still like a lot of shit that I really appreciate nowadays,
Yeah.
especially in the
Yep.
underground pop scene now. Like anything by Alchemist, you know what I mean, is like
It's hot.
A1 to me. You know what I mean? Like yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm still hella into the underground shit because that really brings me back to a time of when like hip hop really spoke to me, but it's dope because it's coming from these artists who are like born in like 2010 and shit.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? So it's like it's cool seeing that the spirit can kind of channel through everybody and shit.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree, man.
yeah,
Yeah, and I like all the different styles, and some people, always say, hey, I wish it was just golden age era hip hop, but I think it needs to evolve, and I love just hearing the different sounds, right? So, like me, I can't imagine using auto tune, but I love the usage of auto tune, right? And I,
yeah,
I really enjoy it when I hear people like you use it a little bit too, and I love it. It sounds great. I just maybe I've never tried or just but I don't know what it is. But either way, man, I just love to see what people are doing and how they're tweaking it. So it's always interesting, and I got love for it. So I'm glad you do too as well.
no doubt.
Yeah, man. And so I enjoyed, man. I went through your catalog, and so again, I learned about you from Chris Blade, our common friend. And so I got into your music, and you got a lot of songs, man. I started with the Scope Saga. It was a collection of songs that you did from 2013 to 19. I think there were like 40 tracks, man, from like a couple years ago. But my favorite song was this track called Fifth Element. And then again, I mentioned auto tune. You used it really dope. And so, what was the thing behind that, man? Did you just like want to get those songs out and you just had them in the drive and you wanted to share them out, or why wait so long to put those tracks out?
Like I'd say like half of those songs I put out previously, but it was
Okay.
more they just like kind of flew under the radar. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
either they got put out and got slept on a bit, or got like held up in terms of like trying to get them put out. You know what I mean? So it was like it's like a compilation of like who I was becoming Scope. You know what I mean?
I,
So it's like if you wanted like the crash course, you would kind of see the progression or the trajectory. That's like kind of like something that kind of chronicled the like
uh,
10-year kind of in the hip hop thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, sure did, man. Yeah, it's a great collection of tracks, man. I'm glad you decided to share it. And I forget, I meant to ask you earlier, man. So, what's the story behind your name? How did you get that name?
Scope. Yeah, so like that comes from the stereotype of I was trying to play that stereotype of like Asian kids being into computer games. So it was like a code name, like on like Counter Strike. Like I don't know if y'all play
Oh,
CS and shit, but yeah, like I mean I would see like a lot of people called like Scope God or like scopes and shit. You know what I mean? So I would just
yeah,
yeah, so I just kind of took that um, yeah, and then I never like kind of changed after that. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah.
never really changed my name. I might have like kind of tweaked it a little bit. It might be Scope G or Scope
That's
God,
right.
Scope. You know what I mean? But it just kind of stayed the same like over like almost like 13 years. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. Hey, is the G your first name or is
Yes.
it? Okay,
Yeah.
got it, man. Yeah, it was cool, man. I thought it was a cool name. He was like, as I was like working schedule out for the interviews, he's like, dude, you gotta talk to my boy Scope G. I was like, that's
Yeah.
a tight name, man. And then he told me about some stuff we'll talk about in a little bit, but really cool, man. And so again, Scope Saga was my introduction to you in terms of actually listening to your music.
Yeah.
And then I got into Secret of the Golden Flower, which is 5 tracks that you released a couple years ago. Really dope, man. It was an inspired collaboration between yourself and an MC from, or at least a band from Beijing, right? China, HOG. I'm not sure what it stands for.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, tell me about that project, man. I really enjoyed that one.
That was a special project because that was my time in Beijing because I never went like to kind of mainland China. Or I
Okay.
mean I mean I've been there like previously as a kid, but I never went there kind of as like an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Older and like kind of a bit more established. But I
Yeah.
went there to kind of just like build with like other artists, and I came across this band through some mutual homies, and they're like a Chinese hip hop like live band. So they have like all the instruments. They got the guitars, the bass, the drums, and like the turntables. So
Nice.
at this time, like they were really trying to like combine like the turntablism and like live instrumentation. You know what I mean?
Sick.
Um, and this band is called HOG. They stand for Honor of the Ghetto. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because in Beijing, like where they come from is like really like hood in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like very
So
very
it's the roots, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, where
yeah,
they from grew up.
super like impoverished like areas. You know what I mean? And like the places that they lived at, like the buildings, are like hella like grimy and shit. You know what I mean? Um, so like they uh were making songs. They were pretty established at that time. They're also mad underground. Like not
Yeah.
that many people know of them. So we kind of linked up. It was like pretty like the energy was like easy, like it was effortless in a sense.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, we just like kind of got in the studio pretty quickly. Oh no, so like their leader or their like band leader whose name is TB.
TB Ray, right?
Yeah, TB Ray, Top Box Ray. Like he just like sent me some beats, and then I flew back home to Vancouver, and then I just kind of marinated on those beats. You know what I mean? And then it was like 8 beats or something. You know what I mean? And then we cut it to like 6 songs or something, and then made that into like an EP. And like the
Yeah, it
sound,
looks great.
yeah, it was mad like golden age kind
That's
of.
right.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, it was good, and I listened to the entire EP, and I was like, okay, I got to that song, "What to Do."
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is a dope song. I like this. I think this is gonna be my favorite. And then I got to "Feel Me," and I was like, damn, this is fucking even better song. I like this song. And then I just kept going on, man. And I thought the whole project was dope. Outside, I love the beat, it was super sick, the keys. And then that probably turned out being my favorite song. And just, you had some great lines, got to do it, maneuver like the Heimlich on the outside, looking in the end at me, man. And then before I leave this earth, got to see what I'm worth. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I'm feeling everything that you're saying. And yeah, it was just a good selection of songs, man. Like you mentioned, man, you picked out a couple and you went with that, and it worked out really well, man. And I saw some videos too. Were you performing in Beijing for a while too?
Yeah, it was brief, but it was like kind of like a 3 month like time period. I was like trying to build out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
how fun, man. Yeah. How often do you get a chance to perform in China, man?
Exactly. Like and like the shows are like so different because like just out of
Oh,
population,
yeah.
just like automatically a lot bigger in terms of
Okay.
like the crowd size. So like coming out of Vancouver, like you're playing like, I mean, kind of coming up, you're playing like super shitty bars and like
Right.
open mic type of
Right.
settings, you know what I mean? So kind of like progressing that and then going outside, it was cool, you know what I mean?
Ah, that's wild, dude. And so, and what was the scene like? So, is the show a hip hop show in China? Is it wild, like in the U.S. too? Like everybody's going crazy, or is it more controlled? Or, hey, like film me in. Yeah, I've never, what I mean, like I've never seen a show in China, man. What's it like?
Yeah, it's different because even though there may be a lot of people there, the energy is not like hype in a sense. You know
Okay.
what I mean? It's not like I mean like Asian people. There's still I mean like Chinese people are were I think naturally just like inside themselves, you know what I mean? So it's like I'd say harder to kind of like really break out of ourselves and really be like that hype, you know what I mean? Especially kind of being in the crowd. So it
Interesting, man.
it's a more controlled setting, but there's more people, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, absolutely. I don't know if you bring MOP over there and they sing Annie up, man, and hey, they might get crazy. But no,
Exactly.
okay, I can see that. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. I performed in Thailand a couple years ago, and the situation was quite similar too, right? So, yeah, it wasn't, it was controlled, right? So that was cool. Good,
Yeah,
man. Well, thanks for sharing that experience. Super cool.
yeah.
All right, so with that, man, I've been to a bunch of your songs too as well, and I really enjoyed the song that you did called "Yellow Fire Academy." I
Mm.
don't know if that was like a tribute to the school, but it was really good, man. Just taking education, breaking it through the norms. I love it, man. You want to talk to me about that single real quick on what the
Yeah.
inspiration was?
Yeah. I mean, like that song, it was like an ad, to be honest with you. It was like a promotional
Yeah,
campaign.
that's what I
So
thought.
yeah, it was to promote Yellow Fire Academy, which was it's a music mentorship program that's
Yep.
it's geared to Asian kids, but not only Asian kids, obviously, um, in hip hop music. So it kind of puts them from the genesis of a song to playing it on stage, and you don't have to have like any experience like
I
previous.
love it, man.
You just like it's really to just kind of promote like a self-esteem, team building. It's like Boy Scouts, you know what I mean? But it's like a hip hop boot camp, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, do
So
you guys do it all voluntary, or is this do you get funding for it through the city, or is it just volunteer time?
yeah, it's like previously it was grant supported by
Nice.
Creative BC, which is like a big art organization up in BC. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
it, it's important to I think like have like these partnerships with like organizations and like educational
Yeah.
services. I mean, yeah, and then I think ultimately what I'm trying to do is I think like kind of coming up in the education system myself and like going on to like a post what is it post secondary shit. Like I think I wanted to kind of like play my part or contribute to like the creative side and also the educational side of like something that isn't really still like popular amongst like Asian kids, especially like hip hop music is just so like
Yeah.
it's not like prevalent, and especially like I think kind of showing that to Asian parents, I think that kind of made them kind of have a different perspective on hip hop music and
Yeah. Dude, I think you're actually, you're being a little modest in what you're doing, man. It's awesome, man. Dude, you have a school that, like you said, man, you teach them how to produce, you teach them how to build their lyrics, to record in the studio. You even put them in battling situations, man. And I think just the self-esteem and the creativity that you build in that school, it's amazing. If that school was around when I was a kid, I would have freaking paid whatever to go, man. Like it was yeah, just it's always awesome to build with a network. And so, man, just when I found out about the Yellow Fire Academy and what you were doing, I was just amazed, man. So shout out to you on this music mentorship program. It's wild, man. I'd love to visit one day, man. Is it it's in the Vancouver area?
it is currently, honestly, it's still just in its like infant stage. I mean, it's still
Oh,
just kind of in the
I love
incubator
it.
because I wanted to really take my time with it, and
Yeah.
because this is like it's almost like my baby, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
it's something that I'm not in a hurry to try
Yep.
to like, capitalize on it or like try to like kind of like expand on it in a sense.
Yep.
So more like kind of taking it at a time. It's currently based in Vancouver, but my plan is to not. I'm not like staying here. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
um, yeah, I think uh, I'll definitely announce like more plans
Yeah.
coming up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I think it's great. And I enjoyed the peer-to-peer battling where you
yeah,
had judges and they were providing feedback after. Like
eh,
I was like, that's great, man. We when we were kids had to learn the hard way. You had to just battle and then
and
you somebody take it to you and you go home and tuck your tail and you're like, damn, I got ripped in a battle, man.
exactly.
But this one, yeah, this one is a safe space,
Yeah.
and so I love that, man. I'm gonna be out there in June. I'm gonna go see Chris Blade, man. We'll have to connect, man, and yeah, that's really cool, man. I really admire what you're doing. So thank you, man, for doing that for the culture.
Oh yeah.
Well, awesome, man. And so with that, man, and just yeah, and so song by song, man, you guys were killing it. And we should talk about this too. Is that you had a couple songs under the name Trailblazing, and I didn't know if that was associated with the Trailblazing documentary that you put together, which was cool. But can you tell folks about it? Because Chris sent that over to me, and I really enjoyed it, man. Can you talk to me about the premise behind that and what inspired you to make
Yeah.
that video?
So Trailblazing, it was a documentary. It was made in the pandemic. Um, it was special because this is made kind of during the whole Asian hate going on in America, but also going on like globally. You know what I mean? Also kind of growing up in Vancouver and having a huge Asian demographic and population here, like we could definitely kind of like feel the tension um, in our city. So it was trailblazing. It was a documentary kind of highlighting Asian Canadian artists, not only in
Yeah.
hip hop, like a multidisciplinary activities. And then
Yeah.
like I don't know if you know who Paul Scratch is, but like Paul Scratch is a pretty a notable DJ. I say he's like a pioneer in our city and kind of like
Yeah.
progressing like scratch like culture, like DJing turntablism. Like,
Dope.
yeah, so Paul Scratch, I look at him like an OG, you know what I mean? So he's like the big bro. So the premise of this documentary, it was me, Scope, assembling like a cast to make a song about celebrating us Asian people, you know what I mean? so that was the whole premise of the documentary. So going into that, that just kind of breaks into like us like chilling in the studio, or what it takes to kind of be like an Asian Canadian artist, and like the obstacles and challenges. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I loved it.
Yeah, and it was special because like that was a documentary that I pretty much like made
Yeah.
because I've I was like kind of doing shit in a smaller budget previously, just like kind of like interviewing like all my homies and just like cutting up like clips and shit, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
traveling to get like a pretty big bag off of it and have like the support of like a big organization, and kind of like um also put it out at like a short film type of like platform. It was like cool, you know what I mean? Because it was almost like a, it was like a true like celebration of Asian Canadian culture, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like the music that was created off that, it was like the premise of the documentary, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I loved it, man. You are amazing, man. You're a rapper, producer, and also you create film. And do you also do your own art too, as well?
A lot of the shit that you see, like a lot of the posters is all done by me. Yeah, but like
Oh,
I've been kind of outsourcing now to like bigger
yeah,
artists. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
graphics. Yeah.
yeah. Be smart with time, but it's awesome, man. You're a walking studio, man. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that video, man. And so, man, y'all need to check that out, the Trailblazing Doc. And is that on your YouTube profile?
The Trailblazing Dog, you can only catch that if you go on my Bandcamp and you
Okay.
purchase the EP. So that's to kind of promote the EP. You know what I mean?
Ah, okay. All right. Chris
Yeah.
Blade, man, sent it to me, man. Ah,
Yeah.
we'll take it
So,
up with him, man. Hey,
uh,
well, I enjoyed that, man. And are all the artists on that video? Are they still making music to this day?
yeah, like that documentary, like kind of catapulted all those artists because like kind of
Ah, I love it, man.
that they've been on to bigger and better projects. You know what I mean?
Fantastic, man. So I really enjoyed that, and I really want to touch base on the song real too, man. You did a song called "Yellow Immortal,"
Yeah.
and that beat produced by Saya, and then you had you rapping on it. But I just really like the lyrics that you were talking about, and I'm going to ask you about the song in a bit. But you mentioned that this is for my yellows who don't vocalize. I'm moving through the screen like poltergeist, show my people that dream so they can all fly, man. And so I just, it was, a song that I thought you were trying to inspire people and just telling people just to go out and do it. And the hook
Yeah.
was dope. Yeah, I'm stuck on auto. I just got to see tomorrow. I'm living through time that's borrowed, yellow immortal. And so it's like, yeah, I got you, man. The time is short, and we gotta make this shit happen now. And so I was really inspired about that track. But can you talk to me about what you were thinking as you were putting that song together?
Yeah, like that song was made during the trailblazing time as like in like 2021. So it was made kind of the same time in the anti-Asian hate. It
Mm-hmm.
was just about just trying to be immortal, or like trying to make something that would kind of stand the test of time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And just like I think my music kind of progressed to a point where I really wanted to talk about like kind of humanity and kind of speak on like a more like deeper like issues. So I think like
Okay.
um I I kind of channeled that on Yellow Immortal in a sense, you know what I mean? Because I kept it pretty simple if you hear like the actual lyrics, but everything
Yeah.
also is like multiple layers under it, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And the funny thing too is that also on that page there is a chopped and screwed version of the
yeah.
song, right? So I was like, oh, this kid definitely grew up in that time period. I could tell like the influence. So it was cool. But like I said, man, I really enjoyed that song. And so, so with that, hey, you're doing a lot of good things, man. You're documenting hip hop. You're championing, some good things for the community. And then I love how you participated in this Jade Music Festival that happened last month for a couple days. And the purpose behind that was to elevate Chinese language music in Canada and just around the world, and just to make and help spread Asian awareness. But do you want to talk to me about that experience? and all the other artists that you get to meet and hang out with, man. What was that like? Sounds like an amazing show.
Yeah, it was special because like Jade Music hasn't been around for too long. Like they only started like a year ago or something. So like it's still like pretty new, and they
Yeah.
like, hit me up like a long time ago about this. You know what I mean? And kind of being like almost like kind of now like an older head like in hip hop in the city. Like it was cool, kind of getting that uh like like respect to like play that show, and
Yeah.
also kind of like build other Asian Canadians who were kind of flown in like in the East Coast, and then also
Dope.
like, a lot of other Asians also in America, and then also kind of in Australia and Taiwan. Like all of them kind of flew there, so it was like almost like a conference in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think like the special thing was like we were able to play like a big stage with like kind of like all the pro um, people in it. That's
Oh,
great. And then also like I was able to kind of bring my Yellow Fire Academy participants on stage with me. So
whoa, super cool.
yeah, so like in a sense, like that show, it was like their graduation because like that was like kind of like 3 months in like training, you know what I mean? Because like a lot of them have never played like a show that size. So kind of like in our personal group thing, that was the special thing, you know what I mean? To kind of share that moment with all the students, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Was it just performances, or did you guys do panels and working
Yeah.
groups and just
Yeah.
talked about what
It
was
was
going
also
on in the community?
Yeah, it was also like artist talks and like workshops and stuff. So I was able to kind of do this artist talk with another soul artist. And yeah, that was great because I also think like just being more of a catalyst and kind of speaking on like stuff in the industry and kind of being creative is like super helpful. I mean,
Yeah, that's great, man. I imagine the networking that comes from that is pretty awesome, and I'm sure you probably connected with a lot of folks. But man, that's cool. I love how you brought the Yellow Fire Academy cats out there, and yeah, I find mentoring just to be very important in anything we do in life. And so I really, again, I told you this before. I admire that you do that, and you're looking at training and helping the new generation out with what you've learned, because it was much more difficult when we were younger and almost harder sometimes in some cases to find somebody to mentor us. But I love it, man. It sounds like a great experience. And is this festival going to be annual, or is it every other year?
yeah, they're aiming it to be annually, so
Okay.
it'll be bigger and better, I think, each year.
Yeah, I was upset that it was only Chinese, man. I was looking for the Filipinos, and
Uh,
I'm just kidding, man. I thought that was really cool, man. So
I think they're
yeah,
like expanding, so I think it'll over time it'll kind of cover all Asian languages, I think.
no, no, that's really great, man. Again, anything to spread awareness, man. So that was really cool. Well, with that, cool, man. It sounds like you're very active. And for yourself, do you enjoy like what's the better experience, writing the actual track or just actually completing it and then getting to jam out and performing it on stage? What do you enjoy more?
That's a good question because like uh I
It
think both
depends.
I love them equally in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think you can have either without the other, you know what I mean? So uh, I love the fact that the creation of the song is it comes out of nothing. It's like magical. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's most like kind of like it's like conceiving a child. You know what I mean? It's like that type of like coming out of nothing. You know what I mean? And then kind of playing that to the public on a stage and having that crowd energy and that adrenaline, they're both like yin and yang. You know what I mean? It's like
I,
I think like
I was
just
gonna say, I was gonna say that. I was like, should I not say that because he's Chinese? But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's exactly it, man.
like kind of I think they complete each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, man. That's a good point. And so I was probably going to go into this question too. Was like if you had a preference between producing and rapping, and it's probably the same thing with the yin and yang concept that, hey, when I'm not feeling, songwriting, I'm gonna go and produce beats. And do you spend more time doing one than the other, or is it just whatever you're feeling at that time?
Now that I'm kind of moving into a space of where it's more producing more than
Oh, interesting.
my vocals. I think because I've been expanding into more like kind of uh like OSTs, like sound design, like soundtrack stuff. So I've kind of like built off of what I've been building in hip hop beats, but I'm kind of translating that into a more experimental, almost like ambient electronic side. Because also I'm close to a lot of people who are kind of more into electronic music. So
Yeah.
I absorb a lot of what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I'd say, yeah, producing currently is a more of what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I love what you're doing too. And Chris Blade, who I've been trying to get out of retirement for the longest time, are you producing stuff for him right now?
Honestly, I think he's still sitting on like a lot of my beats, bro.
Man,
Like I sent him like a whole catalog. So
oh, I'm gonna go hassle that dude, man. After like, come on, man, get back on it.
yeah,
He's dope.
yeah.
Oh, he's got a gold mine of Scope G beats. Okay,
Yeah,
all
like
right. Well,
it's on him to put it out though, you know what I mean? So I
oh
gotta
yeah, no,
uh,
for sure. No, and I say that jokingly, man. I love Chris to death. He's a badass artist, and he's done a lot of work for me on my projects, and as mentioned too, we're trying to get a song done because I'm going out there in June. We got a small trip out there, so we're like, oh, let's go shoot like some parts for a video out there. So yeah, it'll be great to meet you too as well in person, man.
yeah.
But that with that, man, I love it, man. I agree with you, man. One cannot go without the other. And so, aside from production and actually rapping, have you ever dabbled in any other element of hip hop?
No.
Oh, you're
I,
you're Asian, man. You should be able to dance good, man.
I haven't
That's
b-boyed and I haven't tagged any wall and I haven't DJ'd either. So I think like
yeah,
I I think naturally I would try to go into DJing,
yeah,
but I don't know yet. You know what I mean? I think naturally because I'm around other DJs, I would.
yeah,
But
yeah.
also, I mean, I also know dancers too, so who knows? Maybe I'll start b-boying.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's about a Filipino man. I'm supposed to be a DJ, but that didn't work out for me real well. And yeah, I think all the dance stuff skipped me, man. Well, that's cool, man. But you seem like you got your hands full
yeah.
in what you're doing, and so with that, as you perform, do you have any pre-stage rituals? Anything that you like to do before you perform, or are there certain things that like for me, I don't like to drink before I rap, man. It just gets my mouth all crazy and stuff. But
Yeah.
anything special for you that you do before you get on stage?
Um, I mean, I'd say like the pre-game kind of before the stage is like almost like I enjoy that part the most actually.
Yeah, hell
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
because it's that calm before the storm. It's like I'm just like about to play like game six, you know what I mean, of like NBA finals and shit. And
yeah,
it's like it's like on the line. I have to close out, you know what I mean? So it's just game day. I treat it like it's like I gotta be a laser sharp.
yeah,
I treat it like it's like a spiritual thing, you know what I mean? So it's like meditative
yeah,
almost, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like often
Yep.
I'm just like kind of pacing back and forth like in like the green room or like kind of behind the stage because I love like kind of hearing like the DJ just like playing shit, but I'm just
Yeah,
backstage and I just like I hear the speakers
yeah,
and I don't see the crowd, but I
yeah,
can like hear them, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I love just like the moments before going on stage. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
The build up right before they call you on, and even like during sound check too. I love just standing on the stage and just kind of visualizing what's about to happen, it's very exciting for me to do that. And so I love just sitting there and just like, oh man, this is gonna be fun, man. So I was just curious if anybody else like yourself had any special things you do. So it sounds like yeah, we enjoy kind of doing similar things.
Yeah.
Man, so you got your hands full, man. You do the school stuff, you make music, you work, man. What do you like to do for fun when you're not making music?
Lately I've been going back to just like drawing and just like
Ah, okay.
doodling because like doodling to me is like pretty meditative. And
Yeah.
like I mean, I used to just like kind of draw and then like everybody around me just like talks and then I just kind of draw. You know what I mean? I was like that kid. So I'm kind of like I've kind of been going into that mode. But also just as hobbies, like I just kind of like smoking and like driving around the city, just like
Yeah.
chill. Um, because like in Vancouver, it's mad like beautiful, like outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're not like appreciating that part. It's hard to like appreciate here, I feel, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of just like doing like chill shit and just enjoying outside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you live actually in Vancouver City or outside of it?
I live like kind of I still live in Vancouver, but it's like come up almost like on the outside of it now. But it's near like
Right.
kind of Burnaby, if you know where Burnaby is. But
Oh no, okay. I'll find out in June when I get out there, man.
okay.
All right, man. So with folks, visiting to Vancouver, all right, tell me, man. I always ask Chris, what are the top three places that you got to eat at if someone was going to go visit at Vancouver?
Top three. I mean, that also kind of depends on what you're like into in terms of eating.
Yeah. All right, give me Scope G's top
Okay.
three favorite restaurants.
Okay. I would give you I mean if you're into like Malaysian food, like the beef rendangs and like all that shit. Like, uh, there's a spot called John 316.
Oh,
That's pretty dope. I would go to that spot for sure. If you're in the hot pot, I don't know if you ever had hot
yeah,
pot.
man. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not picky or choosy, man. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'll
hot
go
pot
anywhere.
is like there's a spot called Heidi Lao. I don't know if you've ever heard of Heidi Lao, but it's also all over the globe and shit. But it's like a big Chinese kind of like chain of hot pot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the hot pot's like a big ass like
Yeah.
uh pot
You just
and it's hot and
toss
then
it
you
all in there.
right. Yeah, so Heidi Lao is another spot I would suggest. And then
Yeah.
number three, I know I'm Asian and I'm only picking all the Asian cuisine right now. But that's the other shit. But
That's all.
I would say I mean like poutines always like pretty Canadian staples. So
Yeah, I asked him, Chris, about that too, right? But I was telling him like I probably, I was in Toronto a couple months ago
yeah.
to go visit my cousins, and I said, man, I'm just curious. I just want to try the poutine out of McDonald's, man, because you can't try that. That's the fake stuff, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah, if you're ordering the poutine, don't get it out of like a chain. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If
that's right.
poutine, like there's like spots that's more like it's like a sandwich spot, but
That's
they
right.
like poutines and shit. Go at like those joints. You know what I mean? Like the smaller joints.
Yeah, we did that, and they have like where they put meat on it. But yeah, it's fascinating. I really like it. And then I had to try the beaver tail. Right, I was like, yo, I need to try a beaver tail before I bounce.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool too.
yeah. I mean the beaver tail is like, I mean, do y'all have like churros and shit?
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, exactly, right? It's that
Yeah,
cinnamony bread. Yeah, so
yeah,
we thought it was fun. I think just be able to call a beaver tail. My daughter enjoyed it, and
yeah. I mean,
it was fun. Yeah,
if you're into like seafood, like there's hella seafood up in BC, so that's something like
yeah,
if into
it's
like
true.
lobsters and like I don't know like oysters and shit. Like they have a lot of those. You know what I mean,
Oh man, yeah, Vancouver sounds like it's gonna be fun, man. We went. Yeah, it's probably been almost 10 years. The last time we were there, we drove up from Seattle,
yeah,
so it was fun, man. Yeah, we went to go hang out in Chinatown, but Vancouver is really a cool place, man. I enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to going back.
yeah,
Hey, so with that, man, thanks again for all the recommendations and telling me all the insights and of your story as becoming an MC and producer. Are there any projects that you want to highlight in terms of what you're working on and that may be coming out in the near future?
Look out for more Yellow Fire Academy. Um, we're gonna be like doing a lot more things, so just like keep it tuned in. Yellowfireacademy.com.
There you go, man.
Yeah. In terms of like albums, I'm not really like putting out anything anytime soon, but y'all will definitely like hear about my like upcoming projects like as they come out. You know what I mean? So just like definitely lock in at Scope Saga. That's my IG, and yeah, just like stay tuned in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it, man. And it's the best place to find your music on all digital streaming platforms. Very easy, Scope G, right? And yeah, I found all your tracks out there.
However, like on my Bandcamp, I try to promote like kind of people supporting more like local underground artists. So go to my Bandcamp first, but also like I put it all out on like Spotify, Apple Music, all that too. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. Hit this man's work up. Check out the Trailblazing video by copping the EP. Before we close out this amazing session, is there anybody that you want to shout out before we close this up?
Oh yeah, shout out KB for linking us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Homie Chris Blade, bro. Like I've known him like kind of early on in my like hip hop stage. So he was there when we were just like kicking beats, kicking bars like in the car, just like nothing else to do. You know what I mean? So he was there like at like day zero. You know what I mean? He was there.
Love it.
So shout out to KB. Shout out to you for kind of putting this together and kind of putting
thank
this
you.
on. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, bro.
Oh, 100%, man. Well, good deal, man. Hey, man, I love what you're doing, man. You're making dope music. And most especially, man, I love what you're all about in terms of the Yellow Fire Academy, man. I can't wait to see that continue to flourish. You're a true inspiration, and you definitely represent for the Asian community. I appreciate you. I look forward to following your career, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yo, bless, bro.